one of the biggest issues if you're trying to change your life is not scaling properly. So trying to do too much, too fast, too quick when you haven't really built up the foundation or the stamina or the being able to carry that type of capacity, and you're just going too quick. And what happens is if you scale a business too fast, it can get out of control really quick. You start taking on more debt, you start getting more stressed out, you start going in a bunch of different directions. You haven't really built a foundation in order to scale at a pace that can sustain it. If you're trying to make changes in your life, you need to start with a foundation, simple foundations, and then you build from that. So, for example, if you're trying to change your eating habits, do not go out and get all kinds of pills, vitamins, detox protocols, every new gadget, weight loss drugs, every fitness thing. If you don't have a base kind of foundation, you need to start with simple things: sleeping, hydrating, walking. Boom. Once you get those under control, get to bed before by 9 o'clock. Your body produces the most melatonin between 9 p.m. and 2 a.m. If you're every hour that you delay that, you're actually hurting your body's recovery. You're hurting the how your cells regenerate. You're not getting that deep sleep. And same thing with food and hydration. If you are drinking coffee right when you wake up before you hydrate or before you actually eat some protein, those are going to give you negative effects. So try to do simple things first. What I would say is for a good month, basic things. So just start with walking after every meal, getting to bed by 9, and eating protein before your coffee. That should be like your first foundation. Then what you can do is build from that. If you want to change your eating habits to better eating, start with like a good 10 items that you buy every week for the first 3 months. It doesn't have to be crazy. You don't need big extravagant meals. You don't need to get a bunch of ingredients. You just get simple things. And I do have some videos that I did about a month ago or so that I talk about eating what you should buy at the grocery store if you're just starting out. Keep it really simple and then just rotate through those meals until your body starts to understand that this is the new way of eating. If you're trying to do too much too fast all at once and make so many changes, you're going to hit burnout and you're going to fall back. So many people go back into their old habits because they haven't really developed the mindset or developed the skills or the discipline to maintain that new way of living. So even it's like you're getting too far ahead of yourself. There's nothing wrong with small beginnings and starting small. So you don't have to lift weights 5 days a week when you're starting out. Just add in some movement. And what you'll see is that you'll start feeling so much better because as you add in those movements and you add in those positive changes, you're going to notice the things that the negative things. You might start to remove, for example, Netflix or drinking a glass of wine every week like you normally do. So as you're adding in those things, you are removing the other things that are now going against and making it harder for you, harder for those changes. But scaling in life is much like a business. You don't want to take on debt to scale your business. You use the profits from the first kind of layer to then scale. You're using the profits to go back into the business. Same thing in life. You're not taking on debt to scale. You're utilizing what you already have in order to continue to grow. What I would do is check myself every 90 days and say, okay, how's this going? Could I add on to this? Could I level up now from this area? So if you're not taking any vitamins, start with a good whole food multivitamin appropriate for your age. Your body needs minerals and you need to start with a base. What you could do is start on that, and after 3 months of a good whole food vitamin, you might be able to say, okay, I need to add in something else. I need to add in a fat burner as I start working out, or I need to add in some zinc or some vitamin C, or just whatever your body might need. And that 90-day mark is a good time to maybe get some blood work done to see. You could also do a mineral testing just to see where you're at so you're not taking something unnecessary and you can start taking something that's, um, you know, appropriate for you and that your body might be in need of. Some people get on like diets and they're doing, the carnivore or the keto diet or whatever, and they just jump right into something like that. And what happens is you usually you fall back, but worse, because your body hasn't prepared itself for that. And things can, if you're not preparing for things, it can actually hurt you in the long run. So start with a base, a foundation. Getting things under control is always the first step. Good sleep, good hydration, and some movement. Then you're like, okay, I need to get in some morning sunshine. Maybe some, morning sunshine, and then that 10-minute walk after eating turns into a 30-minute walk after eating. So you're just growing and scaling. And as you're doing this process, you can start decluttering and saying, okay, I'm going to I'm going to let go of 10 things, and I'm going to buy one nice thing that resembles this new future person. So that could be, maybe you have some photos on your phone of things that you really love, a shirt or a pair of pants or something, for the house. Invest in that one nice thing and look at it, because every time you see it, it's going to trigger and it's going to remind you of the person that you're working towards. This is who you want to be. This is what you're developing. This is what you're working towards. And then remove the things that remind you, oh, this is my old self. This is what I used to look like. This is old me, or this is just, linked to a past season, an old identity, somebody I'm really trying to break free from and grow out of. The goal, you want to develop. Everything that's alive develops. Think about that. Trees, flowers, it develops, it grows. So by you wanting to grow and develop, you're actually honoring God with what He's given you. When you're stuck and you're stagnant, that produces a complacency, it produces laziness, and that's not godly at all. And a lot of people have used the excuse of, oh, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. No, that turns into an excuse for you not doing something, and it turns into a complacent. Now, I do agree with, if there's something you can't change, obviously, but most of these things we can change, and then we use that as an excuse to not change or to keep us stuck. Well, we're all going to die sometime, or, oh, well, this is, YOLO, one life to live, or, well, heaven's our destination, so we don't have to really, doesn't matter now, and you can twist every single thing to make it fit into a small box or a lower way of living. So get back to the raw, simple beauty of the truth. The truth is where you find the most freedom. And when you remove and you cut the fat and you cut the excuses and you cut the nonsense and all of those things that you have put in there and you have accepted and you've chose to believe, just let it get rid of that. All it's doing is holding you back. You're lying to your own self, and then you're justifying it, and then you're living in that lie because it gives you a reason not to do better. It gives you a reason to say, well, it's always easier to have more of the same because you're wired that way. You're used to it. You're used to what you've already had. So of course your mind is going to say, yeah, that feels good. It feels comfortable because it's normal. We create routines that become prisons for us, and then that becomes normal. And I'll give you an example. I wake up every morning before my kids wake up. I'm usually up somewhere between 5 and 7. It just depends on when I went to bed. I like to be up earlier. It doesn't always happen. My routine is I clean right now. In the morning, I tidy up. I do the laundry. I like that. I like the slow mornings. I drink a lemon water. I go to the bathroom, brush my teeth, all that stuff. But I wipe the bathrooms down. I empty the trash cans. I unload the dishes. I wipe things. I light a candle. I like the slow morning. But that could also turn into kind of like a prison, because actually this morning I was thinking, what if I got up before them and I went for a walk? And I got my sunlight, or I did fasted cardio, which is really just incline, cardio or movement while on an empty stomach. So I might shift into that because I start noticing we are creatures of habit. We start doing the same thing every day, and it becomes a comfort. Yeah, I like to wipe up. I like the slow morning. Sometimes I put on some little jazz, and I like to clean up the house. But it's okay to change so you can develop in other areas. This is why it's so important to reevaluate what you're doing and just reestablish a new way. You can do it at any time. Just because you did it that way doesn't mean it has to stay that way. We can really change whenever we're ready to change, whenever we want something new. And so obviously I wouldn't say, well, I'm going from cleaning in my slow mornings to running in the morning. Okay, that's like a bit extreme. And so that's not going to stay. It's not going to, you know, that's not, I need to develop that. So I would start with maybe just a 15-minute walk in the morning, then I come back and I clean. Would that benefit me? Yeah, sure. And so you're breaking out of your own routine, your own prison, your own habits, your own things that you've said, oh, this is how it is, this is how I've always been. So you have to kind of catch yourself if you just are going on autopilot for too long, and be willing to make those changes, but start with things that are obtainable and that you can manage and that you can build from. The key is starting with a foundation and building from it. You have to start somewhere and then you build. And so every 90 days you can reevaluate, you can kind of pivot, you can adjust, make the changes, what's working, what's not working, and grow from there. So if something's not working in 90 days and you're like, yeah, I really didn't like how I felt after that, well, change it. Make a change. So you're always trying to stay like ahead of your old self, so your old self doesn't pull you back into that distracted lifestyle. That's what the devil wants. He wants you to be sick, distracted, and not able to even think clear because you have so much chaos in your life and so many things going on that you're like, oh, I'm so overwhelmed that I'm just going to eat this junk. I'm so overwhelmed I'm just going to watch this movie. I can't think about that right now. I'm just, well, clear the clutter. Clear the clutter in your mind, clear the clutter in your space, clear the clutter in your life, so you can breathe and think clear and then walk in that clarity. Making moves out of clarity and discernment and self-control and discipline gives you options. It gives you options in life. You're not rushed, and you're not moving all chaotic. You're not just putting yourself in a situation where it's just crisis mode all the time, and you have to take that because that's you didn't prepare properly. Start preparing. If you know your health is not good, start correcting. Don't just say, well, this is how it is, this is how I have to live. Start correcting that. If you know your spending is out of control, start correcting that. Be willing to correct the areas that you do have control over, and let God work on the things that you don't have control over. You can't do anything about. Maybe there's areas in your life that you can't change. But there are a lot of things that we've just gotten so used to saying, well, it is what it is. What's meant to be is meant to be. That's usually a lie. We have the ability to choose. So let's choose wisely and choose life. Let's speak life over our body. Let's do what we have to do. Let's grow. Let's learn. Let's relearn. Don't get so lost in things that you just take whatever comes your way and you don't even know who you are anymore. Let's step up. As women, we have lost ourselves. We've gotten so busy tending to life and what everybody expects from us. Usually we have hormones that aren't, out of whack. We don't feel good. We've literally lost ourselves, and we've done it for the sake of what everyone thinks we should do. And when you understand that it's okay to come back to who you are and start building at any time, it's okay to start developing a new you. It's okay to say, who I was in my 20s, that's not who I am now. And hold on to the things. I'm not saying let go of like who you are completely. And, we all have good traits and good things that you don't want to apologize for. That's part of how God made you. But we also have a lot of things that were put on us, stuck to us, that we just carry around. It's like we became, for example, if you were very independent when you were younger, you probably you became somebody who says, well, I'll just do it myself. I'll just figure this out myself. I'll just do it. You don't rely on people. You just want to handle everything yourself. And I know that because that's how I am and how I was. And sometimes I have to let go and say, that's turning into pride. Me trying to do everything all on my own all the time. I need to maybe unlearn and relearn some areas that I didn't really allow or I wasn't able to do fully in my earlier days. It's never too late. I don't care if you're in your 60s, 70s, 80s. It's never too late. You can literally turn your life around in 90 days, 6 months, a year. Literally start reversing things. Almost everything can be reversed. People think, oh, cavities can't. Yes, they can. I truly believe that our bodies are designed to regrow things, teeth. And I mean, I don't think until you're totally dead, well, totally dead until you're dead, you can still shift and change and grow and develop. And this next year could be your best season in your life. This next 5 years could be your best 5 years that you've ever had. So it's your choice. What are you doing with the time that God has given you right now? Are you going to continue wasting it, or are you going to stop those behaviors and say, I'm going to build something new, and then start building from the ground up?